Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we have something a little different for you guys. So recently I took out the Tier 5 French cruiser the Laga, or the La Galicienne, or something along those lines. I do apologize to my French viewers out there for butchering your beautiful language as usual, but I took that out. I made a little bit of a tutorial sort of video. And surprisingly, you guys responded to it pretty well. You guys were like, oh, you know what? You should do more of these videos. So, we're back at Tier 5. Only this time we're in what can only be described as a mediocre battleship. And the reason I chose the New Mexico is because it has some characteristics that make it mediocre. It's got okay AA. It's not amazing AA, but it's okay. It's got pretty okay guns. They can troll you or they can hit the target really hard depending on how it goes. It's got decent armor but not amazing armor. It's relatively slow but not overly slow. There's a lot to say that it's just kind of meh. It's not a bad ship, it's just kind of not a great ship. So it's just kind of middle of the road, which makes it a perfect ship to test this little tutorial sort of deal out. So, what are some of the things that a lot of people that I see playing battleships do wrong? First of all, let me show you by getting absolutely obliterated at the beginning of this match. Not because I chose to, but because I am the only person over here on this side of the map, and everybody over here is going to focus me, because I'm the only person on this side of the map. There is a cruiser next to me for the moment, but let's be honest, he's gonna turn tail and run, or get destroyed, I don't know which. But, either way, it's not looking good for me, okay? Now, we're gonna push in a little too aggressively. Big surprise. It's kind of my thing. Y'all know this. But, first, we have two cruisers heading in our direction. We have a battleship sailing broadside out in front of us, and we had a battleship take a shot at us from the mid early. And there's some random torpedoes. Now, obviously, that Omaha gets very lucky to not just be outright deleted. I can literally Citadel him right through the bow. It doesn't matter what he does. As long as I shoot him, he's dead, right? Well, here's the problem. I would also like to point out the fact that you should never, ever do what I'm about to do. Under really any circumstances. Because this game will troll you. Never just assume that you're going to kill somebody with a single gun. Because that will happen. Yes, that's right. They all fell short. Big surprise. Then we shoot him with the other gun and it's like, oh, well, he's still alive. And now I'm sitting here wasting time and I should have already had him gone. Okay? So don't do that. Okay? Now we are staying relatively angled to the battleship. The Devonshire out there is not that big of a threat, and this is when the torpedoes come. And we're going to take a torpedo, obviously, right here. Oh, I lied. We actually completely dodged every one of those torpedoes like a boss. But we did take a beating in the process because we are opening our angle up to the Devonshire, who's surprisingly firing armor piercing. And then the California here. Now, Devonshire started turning towards us, so we don't have a whole lot of a choice, and that's when the carrier decides to come over and introduce himself to us. So not only have we been up against their destroyer, their battleship, and two of their cruisers, but now the carrier's coming over to dogpile on top of it. Now, here's the thing. You gotta know what you're up against. And you gotta be able to try to do your best. Now here, we open up, we try to take these all on the belt. One of them actually hits our saturated bow, which is probably the only reason we live that. Because we have already had our bow saturated. You can see that by the dark color of the bow compared to the rest of the ship. The bow and the stern are both saturated. Okay, that's what that means. When you get all black, it's not just a cosmetic thing. It means that most of the hit points that are allocated to that section of the ship have been removed. Meaning, you can actually get away with things that you wouldn't normally be able to get away with. Such as taking multiple torpedoes and living. I've seen destroyers, because of damage saturation, survive 7 torpedoes to the bow. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm not, like, putting a little bit of flavor on that. No, I've literally seen it. I've also seen destroyers, because of damage saturation, take multiple Shima torpedoes and live. Saturation is a big deal, so keep that in mind. Now, here, we have gotten our butts kicked, but we did get a heal away. And we have one more heal in the tank. And we are going to be able to, as long as we don't get ourselves into trouble here, we are going to be able to get our next heal off. 30 seconds, we get another heal. Their carrier has decided, I'm not that threat. I'm going to die, right? So he decides he just doesn't want to shoot me anymore. Well, at least for the moment. And on top of that, look at the map. We have a destroyer in the cap. We know he's in the cap because he beat the cruiser into the cap, and now the cruiser has just gotten into the cap and is pushing towards us. We take a shot at the Nuremberg to try to help our team, despite the fact that we asked for help and everybody on my team said no. That's just what happens occasionally. There's not a whole lot we can do about it. Now here, the Serov comes in and tries to drop his skip bombs from way too high. They just plunk straight down into the ocean, which is beautiful. You'll love to see it. And here we open up a little too early, and remember, this Devonshire is shooting AP and does significant damage to us here, but you're never going to survive in a Devonshire at this close, and we get absolute railguns and kill him. We go ahead and we take our damage con. We have used our last heal. We have 8,000 hit points. Now again, this is one of those situations where we got to limit who can attack us. You can tell that the enemy battleship is charging forward. Last thing we want is to get into a fight with the California when we are trying to actively dodge a frickin' carrier. Now, we know that the carrier's last known was right in front of us, and carrier players are notorious for not paying attention and getting out of harm's way when they need to. But you can see here we turn in to try to make sure that we take these on the bow. One of them arms, one of them does not. And because we took that on the bow, it only did 4,000 damage. Because again, saturation is a thing. Now, we have 4,700 health left. We're using the island to keep us away from the California to get as much damage on this Serov before we die. We are going to die here. It's inevitable. Just like Thanos. This is inevitable. When a carrier wants you dead, it's gonna happen more often than not. Now here, you can see I turn towards, I try to get away from here. We do get one Citadel on the carrier. He hits us with like 3 more torpedoes, but the damage saturation once again keeps us alive. He's got to be getting frustrated at this point. He's hit me multiple times and has been unable to finish me off. Now I got 500 health left and a dream. I have a battleship and a destroyer behind me, but I have one mission in life, and that is to get one more good shot out on this Serov before I get taken out. Here come the skip bombs. He did not release them too high this time. And of course, unfortunately for me, this is the one that the shells all decide to bounce off the side of the carrier instead of killing him. But this was a good game to showcase, even when things are at their worst. You can still pull a good game out of it by playing smart, limiting who can shoot you, and then taking advantage of the enemy's mistakes. We put ourselves in a position where it was going to be hard to remove us without putting themselves in a bad position. You've seen me do this at higher tiers against Yamis. It's one of my favorite freaking things in the world is to watch a Yami come barreling around the corner at full health thinking he's the king and then just get absolutely death struck from full health. Like, that is my favorite thing in this game to do because every Yami player thinks they are the greatest thing on the planet. So when you can get around the corner of an island and force them to come to you, you can exploit that cheek armor that we all love about the Yami. Or at least, unless, of course, you're in the Yami, in which case you really don't like it. But it's one of the few weaknesses that the Yami has. So knowing your enemy ships, knowing what their weaknesses are, and being able to exploit them by drawing them into a position where you have the advantage, despite your low amount of hit points. Devonshire comes around the corner. He's like, I'm going to be able to kill this battleship. No problem. We dev strike him. We survive. We manage to get around the corner of the island, staying away from that Cali, and we get most of the health off of the carrier. And we turn a game where it could have been awful. We could have been gone inside of 2 minutes, right? I mean, we lost all of our health early in this match. Could have just thrown in the towel like a lot of people would. But no, we get to the island. We protect ourselves. We play smart. We take what the enemy gives us, and we finish the match with a respectable score. 107,000 damage. Does that mean I'm top of the leaderboard? I didn't capture a base, so surely I didn't get anything there in terms of XP. But let's see what we got. 107,000 damage, clear sky, top of the leaderboard, almost 3,000 base XP. It's a beautiful thing, folks. Sometimes you just got to work with what the game gives you, okay? It may not be preferable, but I'm telling you, more often than not, if you play smart, and I know I wasn't smart at the beginning, but sometimes that's what it takes to wake you up, okay? We've all been there. We've all been the guy that gets caught at the beginning of the match making the turn. We've all done it. Everybody. Doesn't matter what tier you're at. Doesn't matter if you're new. Matter if you've been here since the beginning of Legends. I've been here since literally the beginning of Legends. I'd still do this, where I make the turn early in the game, I get caught, and then I'm like, oh my god. You know what the funny thing is about those games? Almost every single time that happens, if I survive the opening salvo, I generally end up having a great game, and that's because I just play smarter after that. You have to play smarter if you throw away your hit points early. Now, I'm not saying go out there and throw your hit points away early in the match. I'm saying the opposite. Play smart. And that doesn't mean hide in the back of the map either. This is going to be another prime example of exactly what I'm talking about. Limiting who can shoot us, taking the targets of opportunity, and we're gonna showcase some good angling too, and we're also gonna showcase a battleship player doing the exact wrong thing. Probably a newer player. This is tier 5. It's gonna be a thing. But the reason I want to showcase tier 5 ships is because everybody's like, well, Spartan, you're in an Iowa, you're in a Kansas, you're in a Yami, you're in this. These are amazing ships. So I chose one of the most middle of the road battleships possible for these videos, for the tips and tricks for you guys in the battleships. Now, right off the bat, we have a bow-in battleship, and we have a battleship making the turn that we just discussed. Now, obviously, we're broadside to him, but he's not looking at us. So, I take the shot, and, oh my god, it looks good. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite as good as I was hoping for. Now, the carrier's already shown interest in us. The enemy... oh, crap. Enemy Dallas is actually taking shots from long range at us, which is weird. But we're going to push forward around this island. Again, limiting who can shoot us. We can't shoot the Ismail anymore, so we're going to push up on these guys. Now, our Omaha, surprisingly, I went into this match, I saw the Omaha charging forward, knowing it's a carrier match, knowing he was going to get spotted. I was like, dude, if this guy survives 2 minutes, I'll be impressed. Because it's just not a good idea in an Omaha to be at the front of the line, okay? You want to be behind the battleship. Let the people shoot at the battleship, and then you DPM them quietly from the back. But I digress. We're going to push forward. Now, we know that one of their destroyers is already dead, so you'll notice that I checked to see what the other destroyer is, and it just so happens to be a Fubuki. So, we know that there's a Japanese destroyer. We don't know where he's at, but we can assume that he's probably nearby, because they generally don't spawn the destroyers right next to each other. Tennessee's thinking about coming around the corner in front of us. He's being harassed by our carrier, I believe. Or maybe not our carrier. Maybe it was the Omaha set him on fire. But you can see I'm lining him up, but look at the fighter plane to the left. That's not the Tennessee. In fact, we know it's actually the enemy Furitako, or the Furitaka. The Furitako decides crazily that he wants to pull out in front of us. The carrier player on the enemy team, for once, just happens to be not very good, because you can see he missed his drop opportunity there, just mistimed it. And Furitako coming around the corner, because that carrier actually dropped on me, I slowed down, I turned in. That's going to allow me to miss these torps from this Fubuki. And then Furitako gets very lucky that the majority of those shells fall short. Again, you love to see it, right, Wargaming? It's not a thing. Just 3/4 of my salvo at 6 kilometers on a stopped target just falls short for no reason. Love to see it. But that's going to be a thing. It's RNG, can't really do anything about that. All we can do is the best we can. Now, Fubuki out here is turning to run. He's going to make himself a hard target. Tennessee, however, is presenting a full broadside at close range in a battleship. This is dangerous territory for him. He does not have the thick thick torpedo protection that the Cali, her sister ship, has. So we take the shot. Unfortunately, we don't get a Citadel. It's very rare that happens, considering how broadside he was. I think he got turned out just enough to keep it from being a problem. But keep an eye on him. We're also taking a look at the Dallas. We also know that the Fubuki's nearby, so we can't be sleeping on him. And we're doing what I call the Dreadnought Shuffle. Now, it really doesn't do me any good to do the Dreadnought Shuffle if the enemy is shooting high explosive at me. Because it doesn't matter if I angle or not, he's still going to do damage and he's still going to set fires. So doing the Dreadnought Shuffle here isn't necessarily the best idea, but it still limits your profile, hopefully limits how many shells hit you. And then we take a shot, aiming for that front gun. Those shells are going to hit center of mass, and you can see we finally get the Citadel there. And again, he's very lucky that was only a single Citadel instead of him getting dev struck, because he was turning towards us, which raises his Citadel out of the water, and again, he doesn't have that thick torpedo protection. Now here, I kind of damage con a little early because I knew I could kill this guy. And again, I'm going to do the same thing that I did in the previous match, which is where I'm like, okay, I can kill this guy with the front guns. I don't need to use the rear guns here. So I line up the shot, we aim a little above the waterline, and we don't kill him. Surprise. So then I have to swing around the rear and shoot him again. But fortunately, he doesn't manage to get another shot away. We do manage to take him out. We've got a heal going. We've got a furry taco comes around the corner and immediately sets us on fire. Of course he does. Now this is why I didn't want to use the second guns to shoot the battleship, because I knew the furry taco was coming around the island and I wanted to finish him off quickly before he gets a chance to torpedo us. Now, knowing that the furry taco could torp us here, I managed to take him out quickly. We dodged the first set of torpedoes because of the fact that the destroyer didn't pay attention that we were going to hit the island, so he launched ahead of us. Then we get double fired by the Fubuki. Not preferable. So we got a single fire from the furry taco, and then we get set on fire by the Fubuki like the very first time he hits us. So we're burning. Not a whole lot we can do about this. We don't have a damage con back for 25 seconds, but if you look, our Omaha, our intrepid hero, is coming back to help engage. Fubuki comes out of his smoke. We have our guns ready to go. For the most part, we get the shots out, and we can get out of here before the torpedoes get to us and keep us safe. We get 4 overpins, a solid hit on that destroyer there, no problem. Now, one of the fires goes out here, so we don't need to necessarily damage con this. Let this fire burn out, and then hold on in case we get fired or flooded or something in the near future. Now, the Fubuki gets 3 sets of torpedoes. We know that. And there's some more. So you can see, he obviously wasn't anticipating us getting out of that spot that we were in as quickly as we did. But our Omaha's still pushing up on him. The Fubuki decides to double back for some reason, and that's going to be the death of him, because that Omaha is not going to continue to miss forever. He gets a fire on him and then finishes him off immediately. Now here we have the carrier coming after us again. So the AA is going to do its thing. We just got to try to give ourselves the best possible chance. Now I'm trying to present a side-on profile for the carrier to attack. That's when the carrier gets spotted. So I'm like, okay, well, we'll go ahead and use the front guns. He does hit us with a bomb and gets a fire, because of course he does. Everybody that hits me with HE gets a fire. Destroyer gets a fire, carriers get fires, the cruiser gets fires, battleship gets fire, everybody gets fire. It's Oprah up in here for arsonists. It's just the way it goes. So we got this Ryuja on the run. The guy is like, nah, I ain't about this. I've already pissed this guy off enough. Last thing I want to do is go into a position where this guy can smack me. Unfortunately for him, he's going to do exactly that, and he's going to turn right towards me here. And raising that Citadel out of the water is never going to end well for you in a carrier. Here he comes. He's hard turning towards us. The shells are already on the way. He's already been smacked by teammates, and then we double Citadel him for the kill. And that takes us up to 98,000 damage. And there's an Ishmael left. Now, I used my freaking damage con here, which was actually pretty stupid, because I have Will to Rebuild out in front of me. I have a cruiser in the Omaha right here. I swing out. I've got the rear guns available, so we go ahead and use the rear guns. We're going to be able to get the front guns loaded and again get another shot on this Ishmael before he gets behind the island. We get the front guns out as well. And unfortunately, the carrier or the Ishmael, one of them, manages to kill our Will to Rebuild partner. Is what it is. But I have a damage con that's on cooldown, and there's torpedo bombers from a guy that I killed already on the way to potentially flood me. So here we turn directly into the torpedoes, and once again he demonstrates that he's a new carrier player and manages to not get his drop off. And then he's going to swing out around, and all he's doing here is he's staying in my AA bubble. He's never leaving my AA bubble, which is allowing me to shoot down more of his planes. Ishmael is staying way too broadside. This man gets so lucky for so long. He is turning in, so he does avoid considerable damage. He's not getting citadeled, and you can see the carrier comes out of a wide turn, trying to drop the torps quickly, and manages to get the worst spread possible for his torpedoes, and that's, you know, easy enough to drive a Yami through, for God's sakes. So, Ishmael, again, still over-angled. Carrier, once again, drops all of his torpedoes, misses wildly off the bow, and he's not going to get many more opportunities because we shoot down the last of his planes. Ishmael opens up the angle again. We are continuing to use the Dreadnought Shuffle. We managed to destroy one of his guns, and we're going to turn in and get bow in. The Dreadnought Shuffle, if you guys haven't seen it, is literally just you get bow in, you take the shot from the enemy, and then you fire your guns, and then swing out to get the rear guns involved. Dreadnoughts are very good at this because they have better steering and they're slow. So they can do this really well. But it works at any tier, to be honest. And it doesn't matter if you're in the Iowa, Vladivostok, doesn't matter. So 122,000 damage, fireproof, all the way to the top again. 2,600, almost a Kraken, not quite. But a solid game to, again, showcase some battleship tactics despite all odds. Paying attention to your surroundings and making sure that you limit who can shoot you and get yourself into positions where you can take advantage of the enemy's mistakes. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. And if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.